are the up-and-coming arts hub for Lakeland and hopefully Polk County in the future. We want to bring the community together, we want to bring artists together, art lovers, and have one facility that can serve all of them. We have almost 5,000 square feet of space that we have ongoing shows. They usually change about every month, month and a half. And then next door to us, we have 36 artist studios that comprise another 5,000 square feet. And the artist studios are rentable by local artists, and then they can run their own business out of them. So if they want to teach classes or sell art, or just use it as a working studio, they're able to do that. We have traditional visual artists, we have potters and ceramicists, but then we have a Venetian plaster artist, we have music teachers, we have a stained glass artist. So really we kind of have a little bit of everything in here. We have several artists that they weren't able to work out of their home because of space constraints. So now they're able to come here and have a working space that they would have never had. So they're able to produce a lot more art than they would have ever been able to do at home. If they're working just on their dining room table, they can work on one piece at a time. Whereas here, most of the studios are about 13 by 13. So you can kind of spread out and you can work on multiple pieces.
I have been a stained glass artist for about 3 years now, and it came about a little bit coincidentally. I just finished a master's degree for the career that I was pursuing at the time, and I had time as an adult to have my first hobby that no one else had to pick for me. I got to pick for myself, and I was seeing a lot of stained glass artists on social media. I thought it was a really cool blend of like science and building things and then also artistic endeavors. So I looked for a studio, and at the time there wasn't anywhere near Lakeland. I had to travel all the way to the far side of Tampa in order to take classes. But I went week after week and I loved it to the point that I hoarded equipment to have a little studio in my garage where I just whittled away at project after project for myself, and eventually had the skills to start doing really small markets and making art for my friends. And then about a year after that is when I started selling my art. And now at the depot, I've been able to offer classes where I can teach people those like introductory skills where they don't have to travel outside of Polk County to do that. When I was working out of my garage, I had one folding table, one glass grinder, and I could only work on so many projects at a time because I was limited by space. And here at the depot, I am not limited by space, and I'm also not limited by access because of how close it is to my home. And then a lot of the people that I find interested in classes live here in the Lakeland to kind of Davenport and Claremont areas. And so it's a very easy commute because we're so close to I-4. No matter where you are in like the I-4 corridor, it's easy enough to get here without going to either end to find the other studios that are around.
We want to interact with the community both from the artist standpoint, if they're teaching classes, or to be able to meet an artist that you're buying artwork from versus going to a shop where they have multiple people's art displayed. You can actually come in, you can see the artist working, you can talk to them about their process. So that's a big part of bringing the community in. We've also started doing some markets outside, which bring in a different clientele that we haven't had before. But we want art to be accessible to everybody. At the moment, Lakeland especially doesn't have an arts hub. If you want to go find artists, there's no little block that has galleries or artist studios that you can wander through, like a lot of other cities have. That's what we have here. So it would be that perfect spot when you're looking for a gift for somebody that you automatically know, oh, I should run to the depot. I can grab something real quick there. I'm on my way to lunch, I need to run to the depot. The response has been pretty amazing. Again, the people who say, oh, I've never been here, and then they ask when your next event is, so you know that they want to come back. I think one of the biggest things is just the camaraderie with other artists, because we have artists of all age brackets in here. So to be able to talk to somebody who's been doing this for years may give you an idea that you never had. And then some of our older artists that struggle maybe with online and social media can learn from the younger artists. So that's one of the key ways But Lakeland Arts Association also strives to do some business education to help artists understand what it's like to actually run a business, because usually the business and the art mind don't go together. We have a classroom space that we do hold different workshops. We also do live drawing. We do all kinds of artwork workshops. And then the artists around, so for example, our stained glass artist, she has classes twice a week. One of our clay people have several classes a week. And of course, the music teachers that are here have people in and out all day long. So it really is kind of a hub that you can bring your kids to, you can bring your mom to, and there's something for everybody.
I definitely consider myself a fun artist instead of a fine artist. And I want my studio to not have that barrier for anyone else. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to already have knowledge of color theory or the chemistry of how to make the glass or any of the skills, as long as you come with patience and the desire to learn something new. Like, that's all you need for my studio. And I think a lot of the other artists here at the Depot share very similar outlooks, where we're just looking to share what we love about art with ways that as many people in the community can enjoy it too. It's been really wonderful to see how my students have progressed. I started off teaching some classes for the Ridge Art Association in Winter Haven and was using a communal space to do that. And that was lovely because I did have some repeat artists. And now that I have my own private space, people can come far more consistently because they know the room is always dedicated to stained glass. One thing that I've always really enjoyed too about the Depot, specifically for my growth as an artist, is I'm surrounded by other working artists. And especially for me, my background is science education. So I know some about event planning and running markets and a lot about teaching, but I am also growing my own artist understanding and knowledge. So to be right next to someone who does ink illustrations and watercolors, and right next to someone that does UV artistic tropical artwork, it's just incredible to be surrounded by people that even I would not necessarily have access to in my daily life. And so I'm learning about the basics of art from them. We're sharing information about, when you're a small business, you also have to be your own social media manager and marketer and graphic designer. And so we kind of trade ideas and tips amongst all the artists that are here. And I think that collaborative spirit really helps me then to provide the best opportunity for my students, because I'm also a student all at the same time. All of my supplies are sustainably sourced and then mythically made. And the sustainably sourced really, again, ties into my desire as a science educator, that I want to use as much resources that are already available. So I source most of my glass and most of my consumables from other artists that are either moving and can't take their studio with them, or are retiring out of the art and are trying to sell their home studios as a lot set. And some estate sales are also great too. So a lot of the supplies you see in here are older than me, but I try and use them until they are so small that we can't use them anymore. And then the mythically made element ties into, as I'm learning what my artistic style is, I really find myself inspired by the epic fantasy worlds that I grew up in, Lord of the Rings, any type of fantasy novel really encouraged me to become a really lifelong avid reader and learner. And so you see a lot of that mix of kind of mythical elements and botanical work in my art as well. I can definitely say that the Depot was the correct next step in my professional progression as an artist, absolutely. Having this space that is a dedicated studio to my art in the way that I want to practice and experience that art, having 24/7 access, the location to my target audience and customer base, all of those things have helped propel me to have more consistent class bookings, to be able to work with more customers and build up those returning customers and artists. So I definitely would agree that the depot has helped me in that.
To have this space and know that I can come over and get this creative energy around me, because sometimes people will have their doors open and you can see them working and you stop and you talk to them, and it's just to have some creative energy around you. That's really what keeps me coming back. Plus, I know that Lakeland needs this. We really don't have a lot of the third places that they talk about that people can go to, and it doesn't cost them an arm and a leg to take their kids or anybody else in their family. Just they can come walk through the galleries anytime we're open.